Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Libby. Today we are making strawberry shortcake bars. Now, today you're going to need butter. You can get the big country crock at Walmart. Powdered sugar as well. I prefer the Great Value brand from Walmart. Flour and sugar as well. Baking powder, salt, measuring cups and spoons, milk, baking powder, cream cheese, strawberries, and eggs. Okay, so next we are going to preheat the oven for 300 to 350 degrees. And then next, I also forgot to mention one more ingredient, whipped cream. As well, we're supposed to set this out in the fridge to thaw for now. Alrighty, and then we are going to put butter and sugar in a bowl. Now make sure when it says softened on a recipe, it is not melted. And need to make sure it's a half a cup of butter. Alright, now make sure it is a half cup of butter. Soften it, do not melt it. I usually put it in for maybe 20-25 seconds in the microwave. Just make sure it is softened and not melted. We're going to get a half a cup of butter. Sorry about that. Sorry for the delay here. And make sure it is a half a cup. Also make sure you use a dry measuring cup, not a liquid. Make sure, I usually just go ahead and stick it in there and level it off with the butter. Do make sure not to overfill the cup. I try to put some back in the container. I know this is probably not the best way to measure out butter, but we're going to put this in the microwave for about 20-25 seconds. Not very long. To make sure we soften it and not melt it. And next we are going to take 1 cup of sugar and put it in the bowl as well. Make sure it's 1 cup. Sorry about that, guys. And do make sure the measuring cup is full, not too full. I'm going to go ahead and pour that in the bowl. Next, we are going to put the butter in the bowl with the sugar. And make sure we mix it together until it's creamy. Hello everyone. So after you mix the butter and the sugar together, we are going to add the baking powder and the salt. Make sure it is 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking powder, not baking soda, powder. I'm gonna go ahead and mix those in. And also make sure to mix in 2 eggs. I get the big count of eggs at Walmart. You can get a dozen, 18, or the 36 count. Alrighty. Make sure to put 2 eggs in here. Alrighty, so the next thing we are going to add is flour. And with flour, you always want to spoon it into the dry measuring cup. Make sure it's not liquid, dry. Hi everyone, and make sure when it comes to flour you use a spoon so that you don't over measure it. And always make sure with the flour to level it off. And we're using 1.5 cups today. And make sure not to use too much. Hello everyone, sorry for the constant pauses. Now I usually do not do this when it comes to baking. Unfortunately, I do not have a liquid measuring cup, but for any sort of liquids, especially milk, always make sure it's a liquid measuring cup. And if you do not have a 3/4 cup, 3 1/4 cup, 3 of the 1/4 cup equals 3/4. Now, I do apologize, I don't have a liquid measuring cup, unfortunately. And always make sure when you're measuring liquids to do liquid measuring cup and not a dry, because it'll mess up the recipe. Sorry for the background noise. Now for this next step, we have to alternate between flour and the milk and make sure to stir it in. Now, do make sure that you're alternating between the two and stir it in really well after each time between the flour and the milk. Now with the milk added, it is going to look a lot more liquidy, and that's okay. That's how it's supposed to look until it's baked. Now since I just added the milk, let's add the flour again. And make sure each time you add the different ingredients, you stir it in really well. Now this is just the cake part of the shortcake bars that we're currently making. Like I said, I do apologize for the constant pauses in the video. This is only my second video, so I'm still a little nervous. Now we're going to add the milk again. Now do make sure, like I said, you alternate between the two, and do not use a dry measuring cup for the milk. So do not follow that. Make sure you use a liquid. And I do apologize for the background noise. I do have people living with me, so I do apologize. Do make sure, like I said, you alternate between the flour and the milk. Stir it in well each time. Okay, Everyone, like I said, make sure you alternate between the flour and the milk. Do not use a dry measuring cup like I did. Like I said, do make sure it is stirred in really good each time. You alternate between the two. Don't want to taste the flour in the cake. Alrighty. Alright, and after we end up mixing this, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. You can get the off-brand or McCormick's, whichever you prefer. Alright, we are almost done with this. Stirring in the last bit of flour here. Do make sure that there is no flour on the sides of the bowl, otherwise that will get mixed in when you bake the cake. Alright, now we are going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I get the McCormick's. Get whichever you prefer. Alrighty, stir that in. And now it is time to bake the cake. Hello everyone, now we are going to put the cake mixture into the pan. You can use a cooking spray. You are supposed to grease the bottom of the pan and the sides. You can use a cooking spray, or you can also use butter, whichever is accessible to you. Now we are going to make sure we only bake it between 18 to 20 minutes. Do not over bake it. I would bake it for like 19 minutes. That's usually what I do. And make sure we get everything in there. And if you have a rubber spatula, use that to get everything out. I unfortunately do not have one accessible to me. And do make sure after you bake the cake that it is flat and it is not fluffed up. So do make sure of that. Now, of course, we are going to put it in the oven. I'd recommend baking it about 19 minutes so that it's baked but not overbaked. Hello everyone, sorry for the time skip. Now we are going to do the top of the shortcake bars. Make sure to get a thing of strawberries about this size. A thing of cream cheese, you're going to use the whole thing. I prefer Great Value. Use whichever block of cream cheese you want. Whipped cream, Cool Whip, and powdered sugar. Hello everyone. Now make sure we start to slice the strawberries while your cake is setting aside to cool. Now do make sure to do all the strawberries, or you can do half the pint if you want. I usually do all of them. Make sure to slice them as small as you want. I sometimes mainly only cut it in half. Sometimes I cut it into these pieces. But just make sure to cut all the strawberries, because we are going to use those. at the end. I'm trying to make sure I can get them all done for you so this video doesn't run too long. Trying not to make it too long of a video today. But of course, do make sure to wash your strawberries as well before you start slicing them. I did forget to mention that. It's just to be safe. And it is best to usually make the shortcake bars. I would recommend in the summer, usually after the sun has been down for the day, because that's when strawberries are the best. Alrighty, now that we've got the strawberries cut up, we are going to soften the cream cheese like we did with the butter earlier. Soften, not melt it. So make sure to open it. I would place it in a bowl so that you don't make a mess in your microwave. But again, make sure we soften it, we do not melt it. So, make sure to, put it in a bowl. Again, I would say 25, maybe 30 seconds. Don't do it for the whole time, because otherwise it's going to melt. I do apologize for the microwave noise. Of course, like I said, it is an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. It is a block, not one of the containers that you can spread on bagels or bread. Next, we need to do the powdered sugar. It's a 1/4 to a 1/2 cup. I usually use only 1/4 of a cup of powdered sugar. Alrighty, I usually use 1/4 of a cup of powdered sugar. Pour that in with the softened cream cheese, and do make sure that when you buy the whipped cream, you stick it in the freezer, and you will eventually put it in the fridge to thaw. And we are going to add it to the cream cheese and the powdered sugar. And we're going to make sure to stir that all up really well. Alright, I would recommend using a bigger bowl. Unfortunately, this is the only bowl that I have available. Make sure that you stir together the cream cheese, the powdered sugar, and the whipped cream. It will still be just a tad bit frozen. Like I said, do make sure to stir it in all the way, because we are going to place this mixture on top of the cake that we baked. Do of course make sure all of it is mixed in, otherwise you are going to be biting into a big piece of cream cheese, and we don't want that. Let's make sure it is all mixed up here. It may be a little tough to mix because the whipped cream will still be just a tad bit frozen. Like I said, do make sure it is mixed really well so you don't end up with big pieces of cream cheese on your mouth. In your mouth. I apologize. Alrighty, now that we've got it all mixed together, we are going to bring the cake that we baked earlier, and we're going to take this mixture and we're going to spread it onto the cake. And make sure to spread it evenly on top of the whole cake. And I also did forget to mention that when you pull the cake out of the oven after it's done baking, make sure it is flat. The cake should be flat looking and about light in color. So again, do make sure we spread the whole mixture evenly on the cake. And then with the cut up strawberries, we are going to spread those on top. Alright, here we go. Alrighty, this is the last part. This is the last thing to do on the strawberry shortcake bars. Take the strawberries that you cut earlier and start putting them on top of the cake that has the cream cheese mixture on it. And you can spread them out however you want on top. It doesn't matter. And once we are done with that, you are going to refrigerate them for 3 hours before you can enjoy them. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Sleepy.
Oh my God.
Thank you all. Y'all have a great night.